Who said it? Who wrote it? Look at the date. This isn't the name, this is where it comes from. One of his plays, Measure for Measure. William Shakespeare. But I thought that applied to social entrepreneurship. Our doubts can keep us from doing the good we really want to do. Thank you for your prayer. I want to share one gospel concept just because I don't have much time left with you, but it means something special to me. Oh, by the way, I hope to have the star that President Monson talked about in the mail today, so I'll bring it next Tuesday. Okay? As I've mentioned before, I was widowed. Wife and son were killed in a car accident. And so death and resurrection was important to me, trying to figure that out. So I spent a lot of time trying to think through that and understand it and study it. And here's what I came to, I think, understand about the resurrection. Because we talk about the resurrection, but I honestly think most people don't have a clue of what the process really is. We say, thanks to Jesus, we'll all be resurrected. Well, how does that work? And here's what I came up with from my study of the scriptures, is Jesus, as you know, as we celebrate his birth this time of the year, mortal Mother Mary, immortal genetic father, Heavenly Father, not Joseph. Joseph was, of course, his stepfather. So he was half mortal, half divine, and thus, unlike the rest of us, he did not have to die in mortality. He had enough eternal genetic material that he was the only person to have been born on this earth that did not have to give up his mortal body. But he did. And he did it in a most cruel and embarrassing and horrible way. I mean, you and I, most of us are going to either die in our sleep or die very peacefully, and we'll go pretty quickly. And what did we do to Jesus? Not we, but they put a thorn on his head and crunched it in and probably, broke the skin and had blood running down his face. They spat on him. They called him all sorts of names and taunted him. Oh, if you are really who you say you are, come down from the cross. Nails in his hands, sword in his side, bartered for his clothes, gambled for his clothes. I mean, just really, if you could think of a way of killing someone, that was probably one of the most horrible ways of doing it, embarrassing ways. Is that how we treat VIPs? Think about it in this life. When a VIP comes to town, limousines and parades and special presentations, key to the town, nice fancy types of leis, we treat VIPs wonderfully. So when VIPs are treated poorly, whoa, they're deserving of better treatment. So when we have the world's most important VIP come to earth and have his life taken from him, and he doesn't have to give it up, but he voluntarily says, okay, I will die. I will let you kill me. Wow, what happens when a VIP has a big injustice done to them? They go to what? The courts. They sue for gazillion dollars, right? If you were on a jury awarding Jesus compensation for what he went through when he didn't have to, that's the key, when he didn't have to, he voluntarily did it, what kind of compensation would you award him if you were on the jury? Big check, right? Big settlement, big compensation. So who is writing that check? The law of justice, because he was not required to die. So justice owes him compensation for voluntarily giving up his life in such a horrible manner. So does he take that compensation and spend it? No. He says, I don't want anything for myself. I died voluntarily. Okay, law of justice, you owe me big time. Here's what I want instead. I want all of my spiritual brothers and sisters to be able to resurrect and get their bodies back. So instead of taking the compensation for himself, which the law of justice owed him, he said, not for me. What I want instead is I want everyone else to share in my lawsuit settlement, to put it in that analogy. And that's why I think what happens with the resurrection. It's not, he comes along and sprinkles a little fairy dust on John and John gets back his body. No, John gets back his body because the law of justice says, all right, part of the settlement, John and Joni and everyone else gets their bodies back because we owe Jesus for taking his body. Okay? That's what I think it is. So I am deeply indebted to Jesus for what he did. It will allow me to get my body back. It'll allow my wife, my baby to get their bodies back. And I don't know about you, but I was just thinking yesterday how wonderful these bodies are. I was at dinner last night and we were talking about, what was it? Oh, fingernails. I cut my fingernails yesterday and I thought, how does our body know that just the little white part grows? You know, I mean, I would think if the fingernail were growing, it would just come right out and it would all just stay pink. But how does it, the white part's the part that gets the bigger? I mean, just those little amazing things about our body that are so amazing. Max, would you see if we have any light out there? Let's bring some light in here. All right. Let's hear a few stories. We read the one about the garage operator. Here's a couple more famous ones. A lady named Lane Nemeth. She was 29 years old. She went toy shopping with her 2-year-old daughter. She wanted simple, sturdy toys like the ones at the Concord, California daycare center where she works. She was a daycare provider, and she went looking for toys, and the toys she found were pieces of crap. Didn't hold up, nothing like the ones that she had at the daycare center, because the daycare centers, had constant, 8 hours a day abuse, so they had to be good, solid, sturdy toys. And she thought, why can't I buy these kind of toys for my own kids? The more annoyed she got, the more she became convinced that she could do better. She knew what kids liked and what mothers wanted. Friends gently pointed out the obvious. Nothing in her background qualified her to run her own business. But her father and husband thought she was onto something. They suggested the Tupperware approach. Sell toys at home-based demonstration parties. Nemeth bought toys from her daycare center's supplier, so she didn't go out and, dream up the new toys. She just took what she knew was existing in one part of the segment of the world and say, let's bring these into the other part of the world that don't have access to those type of toys. So encouraged by her modest success, she bought the toys and asked friends to hold toy parties. They had modest success. She borrowed $5,000 from her grandmother to purchase selected merchandise from Israel. Discovery Toys was born. Nemeth converted her garage into a warehouse. Since she couldn't afford a staff, she offered 3 friends a title, educational consultant, and gave them a portion of the revenues for all they sold. So put guys on commission to sell them. Her enthusiasm was infectious. In the first year, she grossed enough to risk quitting her job. With a little more money borrowed from her family, she leased a small warehouse and set herself on the goal to sell $100,000 worth of toys by the end of the year. Business was good, and by the end of October, she depleted her inventory. So she didn't have enough toys to sell for Christmas. So that was a big mistake her first year. I got an order for 40 toys and was only able to sell 2 of them, or send 2 of them. The following year, Nemeth determined never to be caught short of toys again. She leased a larger warehouse, crammed it with toys. Sales broke $1 million, but at year's end, she had excess inventory this time and was $100,000 in debt. No bank would lend her any more money. So she borrowed from a finance company at 27% interest. 6 months later, in an even deeper financial trouble, she got a call from a venture capitalist in San Francisco. The man had gone to a Discovery Toys demonstration and had been so impressed that he offered to bail Nemeth out. She sold him 20% of the company. Business picked up and she expanded her operation again, but increased debts drove her again to the brink of bankruptcy. For the first time, Nemeth considered giving up. I'd always thought of Discovery Toys as my other child. So I said to myself, if this were my daughter and she was seriously ill, what would I do? When I looked at it that way, it became clear. She cut her payroll and found a bank to help. By 1985, Discovery Toys had rebounded and reached $37 million in sales. Then she went to $70 million in sales 2 years later and had a nationwide part-time sales force of 18,000 reps. Nemeth's most important lesson, mistakes are fine, just don't make the same mistake twice. Boy, how many we got here? 1, let's see, 6, 9, 13. And we're a little light today. Yes?
Where do the majority of those articles come from, or do they sporadic all over the place?
Those actually was out of the Reader's Digest. Yeah, so lots of them. All right, let me give you a heads up on what we're going to be doing. Today we'll have class. We'll have an assignment due over the weekend. I got about 3 assignments left and only, 2 days to do it. So what I'm going to do is we're not going to have class a week from today. So last class will be Tuesday the 14th, but you'll have an assignment due that'll sort of be like our final, okay? So last class, just one more after today. And then, what do you guys think? I'd like to give you a pizza party. Is Thursday lunch a time when you could join me at Domino's for pizza for lunch? Is next Thursday? I don't know when we could find a time when many of us could come. Is that good or bad? Any feedback on that?
Which Domino's where?
Hula. There's some tables out front there, so we could just sit out front there.
There's some students on campus that have no ride.
Students on campus have no ride.
I would be gone.
You'd be gone?
I would be gone, at least Thursday morning.
Okay. How many are already off the island by Thursday noon? Just one. Okay. All right. If we had pizza Thursday for fun at noon, sort of a little going away party, how many would think they might be able to come? So half? Okay. All right, keep that in the back of your minds and we'll make a final arrangement next Tuesday to see whether that works or not. Okay? I'll spring for the pizza, so you can have a little free lunch on me. All right. Anyone ever heard of the program called Meals on Wheels? Raise your hands high so I know how popular it is. Okay. What is it? How would you describe it to someone? Well, describe it to someone that in the class that doesn't know what it is. Who wants to take a stab at what Meals on Wheels is? JJ?
My grandma.
Stand up so we can hear you.
My grandma, she lived in Provo, Orem, Utah. She was getting really old and she was having a hard time making a good meal for herself, but she wasn't put into a nursing home yet. Meals on Wheels was a care program where they delivered a hot meal. They have a little truck drive around to different people and deliver a meal for them to eat that was catered, professionally cooked.
Uh-huh.
And so she would have at least, 1 or 2 meals a week that were, a lot more nutritious and a lot more sustainable for her health.
Okay. So they wouldn't come every day. Does anyone know if it's, I think it's a private program, but supported with some government money. Does anyone know for sure? Is it a government program? I can't remember. Anyway, think about it. So it's providing a nutritious hot meal to elderly people once or twice a week. What else does it accomplish? Think of it. Why else is it a cool program? Any other hands besides Max? No, they do not provide video games to the elderly. Sorry, no.
Yeah, the amount of we's, no.
Okay. Okay.
Say it provides social interaction for them. A lot of those people don't get out very much. Meals on Wheels, they tend to become close, from what I've heard and understand, they tend to become close friends, a lot of them, with the drivers that deliver their food.
Yeah. I thought that was just such an interesting underlying benefit of the program. Yes, they give them physical nutrition, but one of the benefits they really notice with the whole program is it gives them help socially. It helps them from being too lonely, and it also provides a way to check up on them. A lot of old people you worry about, are they dead in their apartments, You haven't seen them for a while, so at least someone is calling up on them every week. And also that Meals on Wheels person can assess if there's some serious health problem going on. They aren't trained health professionals, but you can come in and see that, wow, this person's really gone downhill from last week's visit. Hey, have you been to the doctor? Have you called your doctor? Does your daughter know that, you're having extra problems, this week? So think about that. A simple food program has 2 or 3 other hidden benefits that I don't think were necessarily intended when they first started that program, but, it's worked out that way. Want to take a second. We've talked about the 8. What am I referring to? 8 what? How would you call them? 8 checkpoints for deciding whether your business has some sustainability, whether it might work or not. What are they again? Here, just shout out the. And one more. What are we missing?
Profit margin,
That's the first one.
repeat sales.
Yes, that's it. Okay. Now, we presented those in a context of starting a for-profit business, and we've been talking about for-profit businesses and mixing that in with social entrepreneur ideas throughout the semester. Can you really apply these to a social enterprise? Let's just look through them. Repeat sales. Is that something you'd want to analyze if you're starting up a social idea? Something that you're going to use to have a social outcome and not necessarily a dollar outcome. Is that something you would say, does this apply to social entrepreneurship? Tell me about it.
Well, because you're providing a service of one kind or another, and you want to look at whether or not your service is sustainable. For example, if you have a brilliant idea to clean up the streets of, let's say, a certain city, like get all the garbage off, and it's a great social idea, it's completely, sustainable, and then about, 3 months into your business, you realize that because of the changes you've made, you're no longer required. You just put yourself out of a job. It was a great idea. It wasn't a bad one. It's just that you effectively worked yourself into a corner.
Okay. And that's maybe not so bad, right? If you solve a social or you attempt to solve a social problem and you solve it and you put yourself out of a job, that's not too bad. Okay, so that one maybe is possible. You know, this one possibly applies. All right, how about gross profit? Does it apply or not? I heard a yes. Tell me why.
Because you still need to be making money to help people out, I guess, to make sure that you're still able to stay in business to help others, you need to make sure that you're making a profit to do that.
Okay. Think back to the rural electrification of Brazil story in our book. Do you remember the point he made that he hoped he could get the cost of the service down so it made economic sense and so they could continue electrifying rural Brazil based on outside investors and not just donated money? You know, if you're not making money, if you're giving it away, you're always going to be out fundraising. And I read an article yesterday. They said that some businesses spend as much as 65% of their fundraising to run the business, you know, to make it happen, and only leave 35% for the target audience that they're trying to reach. You know, so don't you hate donating to businesses where it goes to more fundraising? You know, I hate that. So you want to have it be sustainable financially. So that would be, I think, be a nice one, is to say, will we be able to convert from donated funds to produced profit? So I'd say that one might be important, although probably half of the social ventures aren't really selling anything. They aren't bringing in funds. You know, they're giving and doing things. So you'll always have probably some fundraising for lots of businesses. But if you can combine some type of business with your social venture, then it can be self-sustaining without relying on the ups and downs of the humanitarian donation market. Like, what's happened in the last 3 years to humanitarian donation in general? With the fall off in the economy, donations have declined. You know, it just happens. If you have a corporation that's giving you X amount of dollars and then their profit falls off 50%, they probably are going to cut your donations about the same amount or more of what they've had their general profits decline. The next one, sustain enthusiasm. Yeah. You know, I would say in general, yes, but it's all right to start something out. You know, a lot of you are more idea people than detail-oriented people. So maybe you come up with the idea, you get it going, and then your enthusiasm dies out, but maybe you turn it over to someone else, you know, and you bring in some more professional managers to continue running the enterprise, and you're maybe more the figurehead, more the marketing person, and you spend less time running the nuts and bolts of the business. So important, but maybe not a make or break point. You know, you can be excited about it and say, you know, I'm going to do this for a couple years. I'm going to go live in Mongolia for a couple years, and then, you know, I'm going to pass the baton to someone else. So don't not start a venture up because you think, you know, hey, my spouse will maybe give me a couple years to do my baby, and then they'll be saying, all right, enough's enough. Let's go and, you know, focus on our family or something else, okay? So don't worry if you don't have, you know, 70 years to devote to this. You can still do it. All right. QT. What does QT stand for again? Quickly test. Do you think that applies to SE? Give me, I hear a couple of voices. Tell me why. Amber, do you want to try?
Quickly test it.
Yeah. How does that apply to SE?
Because like you were saying before, we all have ideas, and we need to test it out, see if it's going to work or not. We don't think about the details it's not gonna work out, you don't wanna do something that's so expensive to test out, to waste all your money and find out that it's not gonna work. So that's why you can quickly test it, and cheaply test it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we'll get to that next one. That's more CT. That's one thing I think why I like this book so much was it said get going. The basic principles were make meaning, come up with a meaningful thing, and the way they did that, here's 4 things they talked about make meaning. Make the world a better place, increase the quality of life, right a terrible wrong, or prevent the end of something good. I thought that last one was interesting. Prevent the end of something good. I think number 4 is where the LDS people are going to be probably most involved in the future. We're going to be one of the last bastions of values and virtue in the world. So we will be out there trying to prevent the end of values. I think that's where we'll spend a lot of our time in the future. So make meaning, make mantra. Do you remember what he meant by make mantra? What's a mantra? We talked about it right at the very beginning a little bit. Sort of.
Is it kind of like a motto, like a little saying that you're like,
Yeah.
going?
And he says the difference between a mantra and a catchphrase or a slogan or a marketing phrase is mantra is sort of more the internal one. What you would have on the walls for your employees to see, and your catchphrase or your advertising slogan is what your customers see. So that's a little bit the difference. Sometimes they'll overlap, but mantra is sort of an expression, a quick, pithy way of explaining what you want to do. Make mantra. The next one, so you can have that, make meaning and make mantra are going to be filtering around in your mind. Like they tell you, I've come up with, the idea I've been percolating in my mind, and actually we're having a meeting right after this class with the administration to see if they want to do a little bit of a test on this conference for adult LDS couples to find meaning in their life for the second half. And I've come up with this as my title. Oh, sorry. Life Launch 2. So plan the second half of your life. In fact, let me read exactly. Yeah, so there's Life Launch 2, exploring the path for your second half. Almost a little bit of a rhyme there, huh? Exploring the path for your second half. And then the third, this was my first title, and now I've moved that down to the third sort of explanatory title. Life Launch 2, exploring the path for your second half, creating your post-professional life. BYU Hawaii Couples Executive Education Seminar. Okay, so I'll keep on morphing, and now I'm sort of like coming close to making mantra there. Then the number 3 point is get going. Get going. Just don't keep planning. So I've had this idea. In fact, it's interesting, I found as I was rereading this book this week, actually wanted to show if I remember where it was. I came across that life launch. I had written it on one of the pages of the book. When I read books, I underline and circle and star, and I'll put, comments in, and pages to look for, and, things like that. And I got to find out what page it's on now. Here, would you look for it? Look, see, I came across, I'd written the words Life Launch on one of the pages, so as I was reading, that title came to me. Now, the hard thing is now, I've gone back now and Googled it, and there was a book about 10 years ago that used that as part of their title, and then there's a book that just came out 2 months ago that has Life Launch in it. So I'll have to see whether it's a trademarked or a copyrighted phrase, or whether it's generic enough that a lot of people can use it. So that's what we're following up on. let's see, sorry, let me just interrupt you. What's number 4 here? Number 4, define your business model. And then number 5, weave a MAT, M-A-T, milestones, assumptions, and tasks. But I thought the most important thing was get going. So I had this idea, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. How long has it been since we talked about that? Maybe a month ago now. And already we're at the stage of getting some approval, some backing, and we're tentatively looking to launch it and try it out in March, the day after the Conference of Champions. Oh, yep, there it is, page 95. See, I just written it out as I was thinking and while I was reading the book. Thank you. So instead of planning this idea for a couple years and getting all my ducks in a row, we're hopefully going to get a test of it within 6 months of having the initial idea. And if you do something that just affects you, you can maybe get your test going within a couple weeks. Trying to get a conference in Hawaii and getting people to attend, that takes some lead time for people to make travel plans and fit it into their schedule. So, 6 months is maybe about the earliest we could ever get to it.
Sorry, what does the T stand for in that?
Milestones, milestones, assumptions, and tasks. So milestones are the biggies. Those are your big overall, we want to hit, 100,000, like the Discovery Toys lady, 100,000 in revenue for year 1. That was probably one of her milestones. Assumptions are, for her, was can this product sell through Tupperware home demonstration type parties? That was a big assumption she made, and it worked. And then the 3, the task. How are we going to get to the milestones? So the tasks are your mini milestones. But again, I want to have you leave this class going away saying, all right, get going. Don't worry about making the big, thick business plan up front. Get going, trying it out. Do I have any more than, I came up with a 1-pager. Now I have a 2-page agenda for what might happen at the conference. What are some ideas? What are the classes? Who are the presenters we might have? So now I have 3 total pages. And I have probably 2 more pages of rough notes and things. So I haven't prepared a thick business plan. We'll do that. If we get approval today from the administration, then we'll go with some more, in-depth plans. We'll talk about finances and, how we're going to plan it and market it. But, I have an idea already for getting some financial backing for it. And, so I've got things cooking, but I'm not worried about that until we hit some more milestones. One of the milestones is obviously getting administration approval. And so I'm not going to spend too much more time on it until we get there. So don't, if you're like some of you, how many of you when you were 10 years old had already planned out your wedding? You'd already decided what kind of color scheme you were going to have, and you'd fantasize about all those things. Oh, okay, and you already had it planned out, gazillion years before it was going to happen. So don't get ahead of yourself. Do the necessary things to make the next step happen. Don't worry about step 15 down the road. Like I had a guy come into me, and he has an idea for a business, and he was worried about should he sign up with the Hawaii Better Business Bureau, and what should he do about, should he be an LLC type of corporation, or what kind of entity should he incorporate as legally? And I told him, don't worry about any of that. Go out and see if anyone wants your product first. Say, all right, after I get $1,000 in sales, then I'll consider maybe whether I need to incorporate or make this a separate entity. I said, until then, be a sole proprietor, they call it. You know, that's just where you're operating as a business under your own name, basically. You know, you aren't a corporation, you aren't an independent legal entity, you're just, you know, Shem Hanneman, you know, sole proprietor. All right, so get going. Here's a few other key principles that I wanted to highlight. He said, think big, set your sights high. That sort of is interesting compared to what we talked about on Tuesday. Think big. Shoot for doing things at least 10 times better than the status quo. Next point, find a few soulmates. You know, find a few people that can help you, that share your passion for this area. Find a few soulmates. Successful companies are started and made successful by at least 2 and usually more soulmates. Polarize people, polarize. You know what polarization is in light and optics? Okay, where you can filter out certain types of light and bring in other types of light. When you create a product or service that some people love, don't be surprised when others hate you. Okay? Your goal is to catalyze passion, pro and against. Okay, so don't be afraid that people don't like what you're doing, because hopefully you'll have some people that will love what you're doing. Okay? The next idea, he says, design different. Okay? Depending on what management fad is hot, you might be tempted to believe that there is only one ideal way to design products and services. This isn't true. There is no single best way. And here are 4 things he talks about. I think just by the title you can figure out what they are. I want one. This is the best kind of market research. You see something and you say, I want that. And so you say, why can't I make this myself? I want it. This is a cool thing. I want to build it too. Second one, my employer couldn't or wouldn't do it. You have an idea. You can't get your boss to say, hey, let's do it in-house. So you say, well, I'm going to quit and I'm going to do it on my own. You know, maybe if BYU Hawaii doesn't want to do this idea, maybe I'll take it someplace else. Okay? Number 3, what the heck? It's possible. You know, this theory isn't popular when times are tough, but when at times the world has turned conservative and demands that every market be proven, and sometimes you just have to take the leap of faith. You know, hey, I think this is a good idea. I'm going to try it. He says when Motorola invented cell phones, no one leaped to buy them. At that time, portable phones was an oxymoron because phones were always attached to places. There was no market for phones that customers can move. And remember the big, you know, heavy phones that you carry around for a while? You know, a few people had them, but they weren't that widespread, and so it took a while for something to happen. And finally, the last idea he talks about is there must be a better way. You know, when you're frustrated, things are going one way, and you say, can't the world do this a little better? You know, there must be a better way, and you're the one that goes and finds it. I think he makes an interesting point here. He said, when you finally get your idea together, when you think you have something good, he says, go ask a woman and only women about it. Okay? He says his theory is that there's something in men, basically, that they have a killer gene. And he said they will almost judge any business plan to be good if it smashes the competition. You know, they don't tend to think rationally about it. They say, all right, yeah, you know, we want to drive Bill Gates back to poverty, you know, that type of thing. So he said, he quotes the Darwin Awards. That's a book, and it's an annual contest for coming up, you know, listing stupid things that people have done. And in the book that the author put together about Darwin Awards, 9 chapters were on stupid things males did, and only 1 chapter on stupid things females did. He said, I rest my case. So he says, if you have a product, ask a few women if you think you have a chance of selling that many units. If they don't, you don't have a business plan. Okay? And one last idea. Let's see. We talked about this. This is generally how I've thought that, boy, you want to be first to market. You want to be the first shrimp truck out there. You want to be the first one to offer that cool way of doing it. And here's his idea on that. He says, that's maybe not so important. First, it may not actually be true. How can you possibly know that no one else is doing what you're doing? As a rule of thumb, if you're doing something good, 5 other organizations are doing the same thing. If you're doing something great, 10 other organizations are already doing it. Second, first mover advantage isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Being a fast second might be better. Letting someone else pioneer the concept, learn from their mistakes, and then leapfrog them might be a better approach. So I like that, a fast second. All right. If you would, I have a little piece of paper here. Put your name on it. Pass those around, please. We need a few more at the back here, Anthony. All right. All right, and then, Shem, would you collect them after you've written them down? Do you need to borrow a pen?
Yeah.
In the digital age, no, we're just going to use them to know who's here or not. And we'll use them to call on you. Okay? Yeah, pass the plate. Just putting your name on them so we know who they are. Did you... Twain's story about passing the plate. Who was that? I just heard that in the last day or two. Collection plate, and then he kept talking, and he thought, oh, maybe just 50. And the guy kept going on and boring everyone. He said finally when the collection plate came around, he took out $1. Does anyone, I've heard someone stand up and say that. Did no one else hear that this week? Huh. All right. Okay, here's our game. I'm going to play a little game here. It's going to help us remember what we have learned or talked about this semester. So you sort of have to close your notes. Okay, close your notes, close your computers. All right, I'm going to call your name and say something you have learned or at least heard in class. So we're going to erase these so you can't remember those quickly. All right, so this is going to go fast. You're going to say something you learned or at least heard in class, and if there's any doubt whether that was something we learned or talked about, you'll vote as a class. You know, if you say blue moon, and everyone goes, what? You know, we'll vote, and then you'll be out, okay? So the last person standing that can remember something we've learned in class will be the winner, okay? All right, you ready? Max. All right.
Something up?
Yep.
All right. The original postal system, as we know it today, was invented by a man from Britain, and pretty much everybody fought him for years because they all thought it was a terrible idea.
Okay. All right. Any? You got to tell me. You hold up your hand if you think, nah, bah. Okay. No, unless there's a, it'll be a while before we probably disagree. Okay. Quan.
I have
Okay. Let me see if I repeat that. How can my business serve other people? Anyone want to fight that one? Okay. Now, obviously, we're going to get, you cannot repeat what someone else has said. Okay. Kahana.
I guess I learned how to think more creatively and outside the box.
Okay. Think creatively. I think we had a whole class day on that once, so I think we won't fight that. Leilani.
I'm stumped right now.
5, 4, 3, 2. Leilani's out. Oh, gosh. I wouldn't have predicted that. I thought she would have been one of the survivors. Annie.
Learn from people around you, like people from your outdoor.
Okay. I think that fits. Abigail.
Use business skills to solve social problems.
Hey, good. Hey, see, the core of the course. Good job. Anthony.
Only God gives A's.
Only God gives A's, huh? Okay. Amber.
Muhammad Yunus and
Muhammad Yunus. And the Grameen, someone spelled Grameen so I can remember it. Is it 2 E's? Grameen, E-E-N. Okay. Shanghai.
I learned sometimes business have to sacrifice their baby.
Okay, sacrifice your baby. Okay. Everyone clear on what that means? No one's going to go home and say, what did you learn at BYU Hawaii this semester? We learned about killing babies.
I pull out my notes too.
What?
I pull out my notes too.
Oh, we don't know what she was doing, but you... What? Oh, she was doing email. Come on, Leilani's feeling sort of lonely over there. Look at this. Look how efficient JJ uses paper. I mean, he doesn't use all the paper. He has more time to write.
Kiva.org.
Kiva.org. All right. John. Get going. Ah, you have a short-term memory there. Good job. So, can't even read that. Anyone recognize it? Seth. Does that look like Seth? Looks more like Jeff. Okay.
My signature moment, hold on, that's not a big deal. But
Oh, I should, so I can sell this one day when you're famous?
be a fast second.
A fast second? Oh, another, boy. All right. Kimball.
Lord can bless your business.
One more time, sorry.
Like Heavenly Father will bless us like temporarily.
Heavenly Father will bless you in your business. I'd say I've talked about that maybe once or twice, maybe. Huh? All right, Tony.
The homeless people are not all stupid.
Okay, that what are we? Let's vote on that. Up or down? You gonna let him get away with that? Homeless people are not all that stupid. Come on, up or down? And come on, raise them high. Sorry, Tony. I think enough people voted against you. Sorry. Michael.
One of the ideas for water purification that we came up with was creating a plant that takes seawater and putting a purification system so that people can use it in places where they need water.
Okay, so a desalination idea. All right. Charles.
There's 25 ways to psychologically damage children instead of blaming.
25 ways to keep them off your lawn, huh? Good. I like that. Be sure and tell that's what your dad, that's what we learned about this semester, okay?
That assignment ended up on my Facebook page.
All right, cool. All right, Sharon. Oh, Sharon left. Oh, okay. Thad.
I learned that a company put a filter in a straw.
He put a water filter in a straw. Actually, I'm going to see that. I'm going to see the company I know next week that makes the straws for the missionaries and say, what about that Vestergaard Franson company and their straw? You know, how have you tested theirs against yours to see if they have a better purification process? Andres.
You have to choose correctly your eternal companion.
All right, sorry.
You said something about...
No, just to repeat it again.
No, you said something about like choosing your eternal companion at the beginning of class. You have to like be... It's kind of hard, you know? You have to choose correctly who is going to be your partner forever.
Is that the spin I took on it? I was like every other BYU Hawaii leader that said you got to get married? What was the spin I put on it? Actually, I want some help on this. What did I say? Does anyone, can anyone help him? What did I say about eternal companions?
They should help you with the idea. You didn't make an exception for that.
Little,
Complementary.
Both overachievers so that you guys equal each other out and not overpower each other.
okay. That was one idea. And what did I suggest? This is totally just a theory, is maybe if you're both hard charging, that you come together and you have a venture to both profit from and develop, and not one is out doing it and the other one's staying at home feeling neglected. All right, so we'll give you a break here if you can say you've made some progress this semester on finding an eternal companion. You made any progress? Sorry, Andres, we're going to kick you out. Just a little bit. Wasn't good enough. Didn't cut it.
It was good enough, but...
Ammon.
Mosquito nets.
Mosquito nets, what about them?
That they protect the kids or adults from the malaria.
What did they do differently with their mosquito nets?
Beats me. It covers the whole bit, doesn't it? Like,
Well, any mosquito net, that's by definition what a net does. No, come on, we're trying to understand. Help him out here, help him out. What made them different?
what if this from the same company we were sprayed with, they're sprayed with like a repellent?
They were impregnated with a repellent in the mosquito netting material. All right, we're gonna let you. All right, Shem.
Did that work out?
What?
The help that I gave?
No, you gotta have your own idea.
It's okay to make mistakes, just don't make them twice.
All right. You guys are gonna remember nothing next week, huh? April.
You just don't give a fish, you teach them how to fish.
Okay. All right. I think you already knew that before you came into this class. You had heard that before you came into this class, right? All right. Let's vote on that. You gonna let her get by with that one? You might. Rally support. Rally support. Yeah. Hey, see, she voted for herself. We're gonna give it for. All right. What? Common knowledge, huh?
The version of that story I like.
All right, back to you, Shem.
You missed one.
Yeah, Sharon's not here. Oh. Are you ready, Sharon? You're up.
Okay.
What's an idea we learned?
I learned your first wife is a leader, your second wife is a follower. That means how like your spouse can help you with the business.
Okay, I'll go along with that one. All right, Shem.
That's what it meant before.
But it took a Chinese speaker to help interpret that for you? While you were out, he tried to talk about spouses and didn't quite cut it.
Be a detective.
Hey, we're throwing you into the second round. Just, I'm offended you don't like my game. Shem.
Be a detective, investigate.
Be a detective, investigate. Good. All right. Back to Max.
You can sell what people want, but not what they need until you convince them they want it.
Sell people what they want. Okay.
That comes down to social
Interesting twist of
Well, because
saying it.
most of the people who are social entrepreneurs, they would face problems because people that weren't convinced they wanted it, even if the person could see that they needed it, once they convinced them that they wanted it and showed them how it worked, then they accepted the idea. For example, like electrification in Brazil, most of the workers didn't want it even though they needed it.
All right, got any opposition? John, you're voting down? Anthony down? Three down. Come on. Max, rally support. 4 down.
So
5 down.
knowledge from the reading we were doing is bad.
Oh, that's bad, Max.
Whoa. Max, whoa. Quan.
We're not the only one who knows how to truly apply knowledge. Well, that's why I couldn't get any support. None of you all just admitted you didn't read?
It was the New International Version, that's the problem.
All right, Quan.
Three.
The meaning of social entrepreneurship.
Which is what?
The definition of social entrepreneurship.
Is what? Abigail already gave it to us. All right. The unique signature.
Sustained enthusiasm.
Sustained enthusiasm. See, you could have just number 1 of 8. See, that was easy. Kahana.
It might be okay for someone to make some mistakes and go ahead of you and then for you to leapfrog them.
All right. What if I had played this game at the beginning of class? You guys would have been in trouble. JJ.
Elevator speech. Be able to present your idea in under 30 seconds.
All right. Kimball.
Church, those church successful members are willing to help the young people to success.
Okay. Helping younger people. Who was it again that helped the younger people?
Now you encourage us to go and ask them question, like mentor, ask them to be your mentor.
Okay. All right. So have mentors. Don't be afraid to ask all these people around you. Most people are pretty willing to talk about their lives and how they've done better. Okay. Charles.
Freddie the pig.
Freddie the pig. All right. Freddie the pig. Anthony. You making cheat sheet notes there?
My mind, yeah.
Okay.
Looking at the world water supply and how I can improve it, and a new way of being able to supply it to those who don't have it in the world.
Didn't someone already mention water and stuff a bit?
Straws.
That was.
Was that enough different?
No.
Alright, look, if 2 people in a company agree, one of them is useless.
All right, we'll give. He quickly had a follow-on. Quickly had a follow-on. April.
Mental health is a big issue in social entrepreneurship. Not too much business on that.
All right. Annie.
Like good customer service, remembering things about your customers' families and stuff like that. That's still big.
Okay. Thad.
Our doubts are traitors.
Sharon.
You just mentioned about the resurrection, how it works, or in the class.
Revelation.
Resurrection.
Resurrection. Okay. All right. See, you can even resurrect some old ideas. All right, Amber.
That in your business you're the pilot and coming on as co-pilot.
Okay. Abigail.
We talked about Ashoka.com and how to create entrepreneurs all around and join that group.
All right. One of the important things you need to know. Ashoka is big out there. John.
Have passion for your enterprise.
Okay. Michael.
One of the things that you can do to help old people to keep from getting senile and forgetting things is to keep them actively engaged in things like social entrepreneurship efforts.
Like going to the temple, huh? Yeah. Michael, remember, I like Michael. He always puts down his Chinese name here. Now, remind us where you went on your mission.
Belgian and France.
See, isn't this cool? he plays the trombone, he speaks French, and he's taking Chinese. I mean, he's just not content to do one thing. He's continually expanding his talents. And that's cool.
Let's put him over here.
Shanghai.
I think of the code on the board, like it's just like two-way. In the forest, I choose the one less travel, so that means we are able to take advantage.
All right. She's quoting the poem by what poet? Robert Frost. Okay. Ooh, now this third round's going to get tougher. Thad.
Sell, sizzle, not the bacon.
Sell sizzle, not the bacon. Is that what, did I say it right? I don't remember saying that. Did I say that?
I veto that. I refuse to buy sizzle without bacon.
How many remember we said that?
I think I vaguely remember something like that, like right in the beginning.
All right, let's vote. Up or down? Come on, let's see some thumbs. Sorry, we don't have enough positive for you. John.
Analyze your idea before putting it into work.
Okay, go with that. Sharon.
Yes. Faith, Brigham Young, he went to convert the Canada, the guy who built the temple.
Artemis Millet. Yeah. Okay, so you had faith to go and do something that looked like it was impossible. All right. Shem.
Examples of SC are all around us, even like in the scriptures, general conference, reading lesson.
All right, that's a good one. Kana.
Heavenly Father wants to make choices for yourself, not just rely on your revelation to tell you what to do.
And what, can you cite the Doctrine and Covenants verse that backs that up? Where's that found? Doctrine and Covenants, section 58, roughly verses 23, what is it, hang on, 26 to 29. JJ.
Some people are content with being followers, and some people are leaders.
Okay. All right. And I think in your mind, which are you? Not you in particular, but everyone. Are you a follower or a leader? It's okay to be either one. Which one are you more likely to be in your life?
Both.
Both. Okay. I see that, times we need to be both. Every leader in the church obviously gets into line behind your priesthood authority leader. So there's times for that. And there's other times when you are left on your own to come up with your own way of doing things. Okay. What is it when your leader, what is it called, the term when your leader is looking over your shoulder all the time and telling you what to do? Micromanaging. Okay, that's not what Heavenly Father does. Can you imagine how hands-off Heavenly Father really is? I mean, He is there as a mentor when you want Him, and when you don't ask, when you aren't interested, He is not there saying, oh, this is what you should do. He doesn't give a lot of unsolicited advice. Maybe rarely when it's an emergency, you're having life-threatening situations, but it's amazing how hands-off Heavenly Father is. Seth. Obituaries, okay. Amber.
That the church's population is less than 1% in the world.
Okay. Shanghai.
I remember in the class we discussed about your grade doesn't represent your future success. That your low grade doesn't represent your future success or career.
Okay, actually I thought a lot more about that. I remember Seth talked about a lot of people he knows that have done well without good grades. Here's the comeback I should have had for him. I said, all right, you have two people in front of you. They're equal in everything, one got A's in college, one got C's in college, they're equal in everything else, who are you going to choose? You're obviously going to choose the A person.
Depends on what job you're choosing.
You're equal. Everything else is equal.
For the purpose of the job.
It's not a question of personality.
Yeah. Hey. The bottom line is grades aren't the end-all overarching issue, but if you're going to, yeah, they had sprinkled. It could be the straw that pushes you over the edge, to mix metaphors there.
I would still disagree with that. No a C student and student aren't even equals in the least degree, I feel. They're completely astronomically different.
I made the assumption that everything else was the same, and you're saying that would be impossible to have an A and a C student be the same. Okay. Yeah. So if you're using assess logic, I have two people here and saying, boy, in my business, this person will suddenly go from being a C grade university student to an A grade employee. Now, I think you have a better likely mental chance that an A grade university student might be, not necessarily, but might be an A grade employee.
Okay, check this then. A's are the same, okay?
What?
They're both the same. They're both lousy workers. Just so happens we own a restaurant. So I can care less if the A got an A and the C got a C. As long as if they both suck at working, none of them will get a job anyway. So.
Yeah, but you can't, but you have ignored the evidence, Freddie. You have not. The evidence that you have is this guy was able to do whatever he had to do to manipulate the professor to get an A, and maybe he didn't learn anything, but at least he did something to get the A. Maybe he didn't learn anything. Maybe it all disappeared the day after graduation. But at least there's some evidence, whereas the C guy didn't do enough to manipulate the professor into getting an A. Max?
Clearly, they're not technically identical in one way, in every way, except grades, because something outside of what they did for those grades probably influenced it.
Okay. All right.
Bribery to.
All right, Charles.
I quit.
I missed that.
SEs never give up. I mean, is that what I meant?
SEs never get up. What did you say first, though, that I missed? What did he say? Come on. I quit. All right. Anthony.
I'm sorry. I learned that somebody in India can take this class just as effectively as we can.
Actually, she's had a lot of troubles. She's going to not be able to finish this course this semester with everything that happened to her. Abigail.
I've learned that scalability, cognitive skills, and
Okay. Are you going to apply that somehow in anything you're thinking of in the future? Multiple husbands, for example?
but just like the more people you can reach with, like it decreases your costs and the greater scalability.
Okay. All right. Customization can work both ways. Making it more general can have it apply to more people versus customize it and it only applies to just a few. April.
I got confused with the word sustainability. Because you made it an issue the other day, one time in class, and then you said, who does that? So I'm like, okay.
So you get confused just like I do with the word? Yeah. I don't think it's used very well. Michael.
Ideas are a dime a dozen.
Ideas are a dime a dozen. Annie.
We talked about setting goals and like the importance of writing them down and making sure they're achievable and measurable.
All right. Kimball.
We can read 12 books in a year by reading 10 pages.
Good. You can do more things than you thought were possible if you just do a little bit at a time, like reading 10 pages of a book every day. You can read quite a few. All right, everybody stand up and stretch a bit. All right. Should we play that game next semester or not?
Sure. At the beginning of
At the beginning of class, okay. All right, stretch one more time. All right. In ancient times, a king had a boulder placed on a roadway. Then he hid himself and watched to see if anyone would remove the huge rock. Some of the king's wealthiest merchants and courtiers came by and simply walked around it. Many loudly blamed the king for not keeping the roads clear, but none did anything about getting the stone out of the way. Then a peasant came along carrying a load of vegetables. Upon approaching the boulder, the peasant laid down the burden and tried to move the stone to the side of the road. After much pushing and straining, he finally succeeded. After the peasant picked up his load of vegetables, he noticed a purse lying in the road where the boulder had been. The purse contained many gold coins and a note from the king indicating that the gold was for the person who removed the boulder from the roadway. The peasant learned what many of us never understand. Every obstacle presents an opportunity to improve our condition. Every obstacle presents an opportunity to improve our condition. And here's something I hope you take with you. I want you to remember this question the rest of your life. Why can't we have erasable markers that don't dry up?
Throw them away.
But that was good just a few minutes ago. It will replenish itself. All right. Ask yourself, when you see the piece of litter on the ground, if I don't pick it up, who will? If I don't help that person that I pass every day that looks like they're in trouble, who will? Don't assume that someone else will take care of the problem. You know, there's so many little things. I would contend that there isn't really that much good we can do in the world. I mean, think about it. If everyone in the world was always looking out to try and do good for their neighbor, you know, it would maybe take 10, 15 minutes a day. I mean, there isn't that much to do. Don't feel like, oh, I have so much the church requires me to do. I have all these service projects we have to do, and I'm always having to do my visiting or my home teaching. If you add it all up, come on. I mean, your visiting or your home teaching takes what? If you really did it well, maybe an hour or two a month, maybe 3 or 4 hours if you really did maybe something extra. And how many service projects in the semester you've been here at BYU Hawaii, how many service projects has your ward called on you to do? 1, 2, maybe 3. So maybe once a month you've had a service project. And maybe you've gone to the temple once, maybe twice a month. What, that's 4 hours. I went to the temple yesterday. I think they're a little messed up still. We had a 20-minute sealing session. I was in and out of the temple in a half an hour. I thought, can't we do some more work here? Oh, no, I mean, you know, so, okay, you know, so it took me a half hour. So I would suggest that don't ever think, oh, the church requires so much of me. There's so much to do. We really aren't asked to do that much. You add it all up, and it's 5, 10 hours a month beyond, you know, our 3-hour meeting block, and maybe some administrative meetings for those of you who have administrative callings. But we don't have that much to do. So what is it? What was my counsel to you on praying when the teacher asked for a volunteer?
Stand up, volunteer.
Do it.
Just do it.
Is it that hard to do? I would also challenge you, anytime you have a service project and you can do it, but you don't really want to, but you can fit it in your schedule, you know, you're not having a test or some other commitment during that time, consider making the commitment to do it, to go. You know? So I'm not saying, you know, cancel your other things to go and do it. But if you're just going to sit at home and watch TV or do something else, go and spend the 2 hours for the service project. We're not asked to do that much. I mean, think about it. If the whole world had a home teacher that was effective, wouldn't we basically solve the world's problems? If you had someone that was caring for you, making sure you had food and your basic material needs, watching out for your emotional needs, watching out for your mental health, watching out for helping you not to be lonely, we would solve the world's problems, wouldn't we? You know, and yes, you might have a time when during 1 month, someone that you're assigned to home teach is having a particularly hard month, and it might take a whole day some days. Like I remember a friend, he was assigned to help an immigrant in Salt Lake City, and that immigrant had some court problems, some judicial problems. So he went and sat at the courthouse all day one day waiting for them to be called in before the judge. You know, really inefficient, but he just waited the whole day with that person. So yeah, that was sort of stupid, took a long time, really an inefficient system, but he only had to do it once. He's never had to do it ever again. So don't feel like, oh, so much is required of me, I'm overburdened, I'm overworked. When you stop and look at it, we really aren't having to put out that much. I mean, think about, what if you were the bishop in a Haiti ward during the earthquake? Okay, then you had a lot to do. Then you could work 24/7 and never even come close to meeting all the needs of your ward members, let alone the people in your boundaries. So those are the rare exceptions, but for the 6 billion of us on this planet, we really don't have that much that we have to do. We have plenty of time to serve. All right, the last. What do we got? 5 minutes? Can we hit a hardcore topic in 5 minutes? All right, and can someone be a scribe for me? Who likes to write on the board? Anthony, all right, come here. All right, I want you to think about Joseph Smith and Joseph in Egypt as entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs. And I want you to compare and contrast them. So what are some ways that Joseph, maybe split it out, go do, so you can break it more of a column. Okay? All right, what are some entrepreneurial things, characteristics of Joseph Smith or Joseph in Egypt?
Traits or things they actually did?
Both.
Well, Joseph Smith started a bank.
Bank, okay. What else?
He asked questions.
Ask questions. He got revelation by asking questions.
I think they all refused the temptation.
He resisted temptation?
Yeah, Joseph.
Oh, Joseph in Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so he was strong moral character. Joni? Joseph, which one? Both. Endure to the end. Michael?
Both of them didn't let hard times stop them.
Overcame obstacles. Okay. Endured adversity. JJ?
Both of them went to prison.
Both went to prison. Okay. Ooh.
How do you make a bolt column in the middle?
Gold, love it. Now you're gonna have to tell me exactly what that says.
All right. Max?
Joseph in Egypt, he proposed a revolutionary resource system that saved their whole nation.
Okay. So,
Came to kind of a dream, I'm betting, but that's a social entrepreneur right there.
okay. Now, didn't Joseph Smith have a lot of revolutionary ideas too? What are some of his? Temples, a whole church, a whole organization. All right, what other hands here? Sharon. Okay, so he received revelation for Emma and others. Okay, so he was a conduit through which he could help other people. It wasn't all about Joseph, was it? All right. Yes? Renounced war, proclaimed peace. Okay, but remember, Joseph started the largest private militia. Okay, so he was ready to fight.
Like in some cases, but like in the end, like everyone persecuted him.
I go like a lamb to the slaughter. All right.
And both forgive their enemies.
Both forgave their enemies. So I like that. Forgave their enemies. Yes.
Both were beaten and left for dead.
And is that what will happen to most entrepreneurs?
Depends on your business, I guess.
Remember, we're trying to make this apply to entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship. Yes?
Joseph Smith, he found a best companion.
He found a best companion.
Yeah, before he can get the golden plate.
Okay, so it was important he had a good companion. I mean, Emma really did support him through tough times. I mean, Emma, hats off to Emma. All right, what else? Entrepreneurship, what made them be such good builders? I mean, they both became fabulous heads of organizations. Thad?
Integrity, respect.
Integrity?
For both of them.
Give me an example of integrity from Joseph Smith.
In everything he did, he was trusted. People looked up to him. He was somebody that he lived up to his word.
A lot of people testified that he was horrible. They sued him. They took him to court. They said he was, a drunk and, listless and lazy. They must have known him to swear out a complaint against him. Okay. Some people are going to lie about you, right? People will hate you. They will tell falsehoods about you. They'll look you right in the eye and tell you the exact opposite of what they believe, just to manipulate it and do their own selfish motives. Amber.
They both had good connections, like with Joseph, or the Pharaoh and Joseph Smith, he had.
So Joseph in Egypt got good mentors.
Yeah, and then Joseph Smith had good connections with, I forget their names, but he was able to get money, and then also
Okay. Martin Harris, Oliver Cowdery. He isn't that one of the ideas we're going to let you gather in other soulmates around to you. So they gathered soulmates. Put down gathered soulmates. All right, 2 more ideas, then we'll let you go. Sure. False accusations. Okay, yeah. Both farmers. Hard workers.
Children, like Joseph Smith.
Lots of kids. Well favored of the Lord. Okay, so they were lucky.
No, they worked hard and were obedient.
Obedient. Okay, one last one. Sustained enthusiasm. Yeah, I mean, look how Joseph in Egypt sustained enthusiasm even when he was in prison. And he was in a pit and carried off away out of his homeland, and he still kept going.